I want to welcome you back to Black Site, and tonight we're going to talk about why Joe Biden is going to be the next president of the United States. Joe Biden has been running a great campaign from his basement, and the key to Joe Biden's campaign is not what he's saying, not what he's doing, but what he's letting President Trump do. He has let President Trump run against President Trump. And what I mean is that Joe Biden has never really confronted President Trump. He has let the daily events of America be Trump's opposition. If you look around, Trump has had a difficulty with the COVID-19 virus, and we'll get into that later on in the video, but he has also had problems with the George Floyd effect, the riots and protests around the country. So first, we're getting into the first reason why I believe Joe Biden is going to win, and it's going to be about Google. In this election, Google will be one of the most important factors why Joe Biden wins this election. If you go back to 2016 and you used to look up Google search results, say for now we talk about mail-in voting, which is pretty big. Everybody's talking about it. President Trump says it's going to be a fraudulent election. Democrats said it'll be okay. In 2016, say if we had mail-in voting, you would get the top search results. Now, the top search results might be from conservative websites. But what happened during the period of time after the elections, as you notice, they went after Alex Jones. And the reason why they went after Alex Jones, and it was CNN who attacked Alex Jones, because they wanted to change the dynamic of search results. So now, say if I put in mail-in voting on Google, what do you get? You get CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, ABC, and all these other networks where are mainstream media networks. And by getting these mainstream media networks, which are mostly left, they will promote what is Democrat. So what happens is if the average American, goes to Google right now and put in mail-in voting, I will get search results from these mainstream media which will basically tell me that I should go against Trump. What I'm talking about is that it was a psychology professor, Robert Epstein, out of California, who said that Google can change between 3 to 5% of the voting public. See, because most people who go and do a search results, most of the time they may go to page 1, they may go to page 2. But that's just about it. They won't go to page 5, page 10. And plus what Google has done to conservative websites after going after Alex Jones and many other websites, they have what I call deranked them. So it'll be difficult for the average American to find their results like they did in 2016. And this is why so many people blame Google. They blame Facebook. They blame Twitter for Trump being re-elected in 2016. And now that you see this going up to the election, what have you seen? Google changed their results. Facebook banning conservative websites, even banning President Trump's speech. You saw what Twitter did. They are putting warning signs on whatever Trump says that they happen to dislike, or whatever anyone says about the pandemic. This is how powerful Google can be. This is why so many people saying that Google should be broken up, because they can control the information that is put out to the public and how it reaches the public. The head of Google said he believes that he can destroy populism in 4 years. And I believe that Google, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and many other of these social media websites are a key to why Joe Biden is going to get elected. Many people out there could say, well, no, it's not going to happen. These companies are extremely powerful in controlling the thinking of the American people. And you also have seen what YouTube has done to conservative websites. You don't see any or kind of liberal websites being banned, being taken off, being shoot warnings. That's not happening. So you have seen social media come together with the Biden campaign and Democrats. This is why you'll see a basic landslide in this election, and you will also see the Democrats control the Senate, the House, and the presidency. And we will go into another reason why, and it's the George Floyd effect. Is another reason why Joe Biden will become the next president of the United States. George Floyd killing by 4 Minneapolis police officers have given black people the emotional rage to go out and vote for Joe Biden. Many African Americans don't like Joe Biden. They know what he did in the 1994 crime bill and some of the racist things that he has said in the past. But all is forgiven because of the George Floyd effect. George Floyd has changed America. You have seen protests in America and around the world. You have seen issues like defunding the police and how communities should be served by the city and the police department. Joe Biden has benefited from George Floyd. When this happened and when the riots happened, you've seen that Joe Biden's ratings have gone up. The reason that it's gone up because President Trump cannot control these protests and riots. And what it has brought out is the black community, the youth in America, to come out and vote for a man that they was not going to vote for. Joe Biden has an energized base because of George Floyd. And he will have to thank George Floyd when he lay down in the bed for his election and being the president of the United States. You will see a huge black turnout similar to Barack Obama. And it's going to be many of you out there saying it's not going to happen. It's going to happen. You just don't know how much the black community despises President Trump. And they will show that on November 3rd. Joe Biden has basically done nothing to deserve the black vote other than being a Democrat. And you see that the Democrats are riding the wave of the George Floyd protests and the riots. It's nothing that they have done or nothing they have said. It's just that they are at the right place at the right time in history. There will be no silent majority for President Trump during this election. He will have to understand that this landslide loss that he's going to lose to Joe Biden is because of him not being able to bring people together during this period of time of unrest. So Joe Biden in the basement will benefit from this black man's death. And he will become president. of the United States. The final reason why Joe Biden will become the President of the United States is the COVID-19 response by President Trump. President Trump's handling of COVID-19 has been disastrous. He said earlier it was a hoax, and now we are in August and it's still spreading around the country. We have seen other countries around the world be extremely successful. Canada, Korea, Japan, and other nations around the world. But we were not prepared for this pandemic. And what you have to understand is presidents are judged by crisis, especially when it's in an election year. If you go back to all the presidents, and I'm going to start with the modern day presidents who had crisis during the election year, they all lost. If you look at Lyndon Baines Johnson in 68 with the riots in the Democratic Convention, they lost to Richard Nixon in 68. If you go back to 1979, Jimmy Carter, the hostage crisis, Ronald Reagan wins in 1980. If you go back to George H.W. Bush in 92, we had the LA riots and the Rodney King riots. Bill Clinton wins in 92. And if you go to 2008, which we had the financial crisis, Barack Obama is ushered in as president. Now in 2020, we have COVID-19. We also have the George Floyd effect. And this will usher in Joe Biden's presidency. Joe Biden, I keep saying, is the luckiest man in the world. He has virtually run no campaign at all, said very few words, and when he has said them, you will say that this man is not competent enough to be president. But one thing he has on his side right now is that he can pick a vice president that will help him become president of the United States. But he also can put out a plan that will solve the problem of COVID-19. And this COVID-19 virus may be with us for a couple of years unless there is a vaccine. But many people out there will not take the vaccine for the simple fact that they will not trust what is in the vaccine. Many people can die from a vaccine, or they can pick up different diseases as a side effect from the vaccine. So you will see so many American people reluctant to take this COVID-19 vaccine. You see that President Trump is trying to push a vaccine before election because he believes that it will help him. It will not. His handling of the election, of the virus, will basically doom his campaign. And I believe that President Trump already knows that his time is limited in office as President of the United States.